The colony of New Providence was beautiful in the morning light. 2 million people lived there, humans who had traveled far from Earth to build a new home among the stars. Children played in the parks. Families shared breakfast together. It was the day of the Harmony Festival, a celebration of 50 years of peace with their alien neighbors. Dr. Emily Kim stood on her balcony and watched the sun rise over the glass towers of the city. She was a scientist who studied alien life, and she had spent 20 years on New Providence. This was her home now. Her daughter played inside, getting ready for the festival parade. Far above the planet, Admiral David Park commanded Earth's Third Fleet. He was an old man with gray hair and kind eyes. In 40 years of service, he had never fired a weapon in anger. Earth was known throughout the galaxy as peaceful. Other species called humans the gentle giants. They were strong, but chose kindness over violence. Admiral Park smiled as he watched the festival preparations from orbit. His daughter lived down there with her husband and 2 children, his grandchildren. He planned to visit them tomorrow. None of them knew that death was coming. The Vectari Dominion was an empire that ruled through fear and blood. They had watched humanity for decades and saw only weakness. The humans talked when they should fight. They helped when they should conquer. The Vectari Emperor decided it was time to teach these soft creatures a lesson. 100 Vectari warships appeared without warning. They did not announce themselves. They did not make demands. They simply began to fire. Admiral Park watched in horror as the first missiles struck the planet's surface. Massive explosions bloomed across the cities. He screamed orders into his communicator, but his small patrol fleet was nothing against the Vectari Armada. His ships were destroyed in minutes. On the surface, Dr. Emily Kim grabbed her daughter and ran. Fire fell from the sky like rain. Buildings collapsed around them. People screamed and died in the streets. She saw families burned alive. She saw children crying for parents who would never answer. She reached the emergency broadcast station and pushed her daughter inside. With shaking hands, she activated the long-range transmitter. Earth needed to know. Someone needed to know. "This is Dr. Emily Kim on New Providence," she said into the recorder. Her voice broke, but she continued. "The Vectari are attacking. They are killing everyone. There is no military here. These are civilians, families, children." An explosion shook the building. The ceiling cracked. "They are not taking prisoners. They are not making demands. They just want us dead." She heard her daughter scream. The door burst open and Vectari soldiers entered. They were tall creatures with gray skin and 4 arms. Their eyes showed no mercy. Emily looked at the recorder one last time. "Tell Earth. Tell them we forgive them for not being here. Tell them we love them. Tell them." The transmission ended in static. 6 hours later, New Providence was silent. The Vectari had burned every city to ash. They had killed every man, woman, and child. 2.3 million human beings. Gone. Admiral Park floated in the wreckage of his ship. A rescue vessel found him barely alive. When he woke, they told him the truth. His daughter was dead. His son-in-law was dead. His grandchildren were dead. Everyone he loved on that planet was dead. He did not cry. He did not scream. He simply sat in silence for a very long time. On Earth, Representative Grace Lee received the news in the middle of the night. She was Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council, a woman known for her calm voice and steady hands. When she saw the footage from New Providence, her hand shook for the first time in 30 years. She called an emergency session of the Council. Species from 100 worlds gathered to hear Earth's plea for justice. The Vectari ambassador sat in his chair and smiled. Grace Lee stood before them all. She showed them the footage. The burning cities, the dead children, Dr. Emily Kim's final message. The Victari Dominion has committed genocide, Grace Lee said. 2.3 million innocent people are dead. We demand justice. The council members looked at each other uncomfortably. The Victari were powerful. Their fleet was massive. Nobody wanted to anger them. We offer our deepest condolences, the council president said carefully. But we cannot interfere in conflicts between member species. Perhaps a diplomatic solution. Diplomatic? Grace Lee's voice cracked. They murdered children in their beds. They burned hospitals. They killed people celebrating peace. The Victari ambassador laughed. The humans are upset because we showed them the truth. In this galaxy, the weak die. If you wanted to protect your people, you should have built warships instead of schools. The council chamber fell silent. Grace Lee looked at the faces around her. She saw pity. She saw fear. She saw no courage. Something changed in her eyes. The soft diplomat disappeared. Something older and darker took her place. For 80 years you called us the gentle giants, she said quietly. You watched us build hospitals instead of weapons. You watched us send aid instead of soldiers. You thought you understood us. She turned to face the Victari ambassador directly. You were wrong. We were not peaceful because we were weak. We were peaceful because we knew what we were capable of. We chose kindness because we feared what would happen if we chose otherwise. She paused. The chamber was completely silent. You have made that choice for us. You have awakened something that should have stayed sleeping. And now the galaxy will see what humans become when we stop being gentle. She walked out without another word. On Earth, President Thomas Young addressed the entire planet. Every screen, every radio, every device carried his voice. People stopped in the streets to listen. Soldiers stood at attention. Children watched with wide eyes. Today, we lost 2.3 million of our brothers and sisters, the president said. His voice was heavy with grief. They were not soldiers. They were teachers and doctors and children. They were celebrating peace when death came from the sky. He paused. When he spoke again, his voice was different, harder, colder. For 80 years, we have been the galaxy's conscience. We believed that kindness would protect us. We were wrong. He looked directly into the camera. To the Victari Dominion, you wanted to know what humans are capable of. You are about to find out. He took a breath. Now we stop being civilized. Across Earth, billions of people heard those words. Something ancient stirred in their blood. Something that had slept for centuries. The gentle giants were gentle no more. The stars themselves seemed to grow cold. And somewhere in the darkness, the Victari would soon learn the truth that every predator eventually discovers. There is always something more dangerous waiting in the shadows. 3 days had passed since New Providence burned. 3 days since 2.3 million voices went silent. 3 days since humanity learned that kindness could not protect them from monsters. General Rebecca Stone had been retired for 10 years. She had spent her days gardening and playing with her grandchildren. She thought her fighting days were over. Then the call came. She walked into the United Earth Military Command Center for the first time in a decade. Young officers looked at her with a mixture of hope and fear. She was a legend from the old wars, before humanity became peaceful, before they chose to be gentle. General Stone, Director James Wright greeted her. He was the head of Earth's intelligence service, a thin man with sharp eyes. Thank you for coming. I came because they killed children, she said simply. What do we have? Director Wright smiled. It was not a nice smile. More than they know. Much more than anyone knows. He led her deep underground, past security checkpoints that most people did not know existed. They entered a massive chamber carved from solid rock. What she saw made her stop breathing. Warships, thousands of them. Row after row of humanity's most deadly creations, preserved in cold storage for 80 years. Project Sleeper, Wright explained. When we joined the Galactic Confederation, we publicly destroyed our military. Peace through disarmament, they called it. But some of us remembered that peace is only possible when backed by strength. Stone walked among the ships. They were beautiful and terrible, built for a single purpose. There are more on Luna, Wright continued. Hidden inside hollowed moons around Mars. Weapons factories on asteroids that officially mine ore. We have been preparing for this day for 8 decades. Why? Stone asked. Why hide all this if we wanted peace? Because we knew that someday, someone would mistake our kindness for weakness. Someday, someone would attack us thinking we could not fight back. We needed to be ready for that day. Stone nodded slowly. How soon can we activate them? The first wave is already online. 500 ships will be ready within the week. Across Earth, the sleeping giant began to wake. Captain Michael Kim sat in his small apartment and stared at the wall. His sister Emily was dead. Her daughter, his niece, was dead. He had been a patrol officer on a quiet station, far from any danger. He had joined the Navy because he wanted to explore the stars, not fight wars. Now he wanted blood. He walked into the recruitment center the next morning. The line stretched around the building. Thousands of people waited to sign up. Old veterans, young students, mothers and fathers. Everyone wanted to fight. The officer at the desk looked at his file. Captain Kim, you are already enlisted. You do not need to be here. I am requesting transfer to the front lines, Michael said. The assault fleet. Whatever gets me closest to the Vectari. The officer studied him carefully. They killed your sister. Yes. This is not about revenge, is it, Captain? Revenge makes soldiers sloppy. Gets them killed. Michael looked at him with empty eyes. This is not revenge, sir. This is a promise. I promised my mother I would protect Emily. I failed. I will not fail again. I will not fail the next colony, the next family, the next child. The officer stamped his transfer papers. Report to the Luna shipyards tomorrow. Welcome to the assault fleet, Captain. In the Galactic Council chambers, the Vectari ambassador was having a wonderful day. He had received reports of Earth's pathetic response. Angry speeches. Crying politicians. It was everything he expected from the soft humans. They are holding memorial services, he laughed to his aides. Lighting candles and crying. Meanwhile, our Emperor prepares for the next attack. Soon we will take Earth itself. A human diplomat approached his table. The Vectari ambassador smiled with all 3 rows of teeth. Come to beg for mercy? He asked. No, the human said calmly. I came to deliver a message. You have 72 hours to return the bodies of our dead and surrender those responsible for the massacre. The ambassador laughed so hard, he nearly fell from his chair. Or what? You will cry harder. Write angry letters? You humans are soft-bellied herbivores playing at civilization. You do not know war. You do not know strength. You know nothing. The human diplomat did not react. 72 hours. After that, we come for them ourselves. He walked away. The ambassador continued laughing. His aides laughed with him. None of them noticed the cold certainty in the human's eyes. General Stone addressed the troops at the Luna shipyards. 50,000 soldiers stood at attention. Behind them, hundreds of warships powered up for the first time in generations. You know why we are here, she said. Her voice carried across the massive hangar. You know what they did. 2.3 million of our people. Burned alive for no crime except existing. She paused. Her old eyes burned with cold fire. For 80 years, the galaxy watched us choose peace. They watched us build schools instead of weapons. They thought this made us weak. She gestured at the warships behind her. They were wrong. We did not avoid war because we feared it. We avoided war because we knew what would happen when we stopped holding back. We knew what we would become. The soldiers listened in perfect silence. Today, we stop holding back. Today, we become what they forced us to become. Today, we show the galaxy what humanity looks like when we stop being civilized. She raised her fist. For new providence. For every child they murdered. For every family they destroyed. We remember. We avenge. We protect. 50,000 voices answered as one. We remember. On Earth, the first warship rose into the sky. Then another. Then 100 more. From hidden bases around the solar system, humanity's secret fleet assembled. Admiral Park stood on the bridge of the flagship, the U.E.'s Vengeance. He had requested command despite his grief. Perhaps because of it, the Council of Admirals had agreed. They needed someone who understood what they had lost. Someone who would not hesitate. The fleet gathered around Jupiter, far from prying alien eyes. 500 warships bearing humanity's new flag. Black background with a small ball, blue marble, Earth, home. The thing they would protect at any cost. Park looked at the fleet around him. Each ship carried weapons that the galaxy had never seen. Technologies that Earth had developed and sealed away, deemed too terrible for civilized warfare. Now nothing was too terrible. Fleet Command. Park spoke into his communicator. This is Admiral Park. All ships report status. 500 acknowledgements came back. 500 crews ready to fight. Ready to die. Ready to make the enemy die. First. Park thought of his grandchildren. Their faces when they laughed. Their voices when they said they loved him. Voices now silent forever. Set course for the border, he ordered. The Victari wanted to know what we are capable of. Let us show them. The fleet moved as one, disappearing into the darkness between stars. Behind them, more ships launched every hour. The sleeping giant was awake. And it was angry. In the Victari capital, Emperor Vectis Ix received a report that made his blood run cold. Human ships had been detected. Not dozens, not hundreds, thousands, coming from everywhere at once. Impossible, he whispered. They destroyed their military. They have no ships. His general looked at him with fear in all four eyes. It appears, Majesty, that they lied. The Emperor stared at the report. For the first time in his life, he felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. The Victari defense fleet gathered at the border. 3,000 warships. The largest force they had ever assembled. Warlord Kreth commanded them from his massive flagship. He had conquered a dozen species and never lost a battle. He was not worried about the humans. They bring 500 ships, he laughed to his officers. We have 6 times their number. This will not be a battle. It will be a massacre. Again. His officers laughed with him. The humans were coming to die. The Victari would be happy to help them. Admiral Park studied the enemy formation from the bridge of the Vengeance. His tactical officer, Lieutenant Sarah Bennett, stood beside him. She was young, barely 30 years old, but she had the sharpest tactical mind in the fleet. They outnumber us 6-1, she reported. Standard Victari formation. Heavy ships in the center, light ships on the flanks. They expect us to attack the center and get destroyed. Park nodded. What do you recommend? We do not attack the center. We do not attack like anyone they have ever fought. We fight like humans. Park almost smiled. Show me. Bennett pulled up her tactical display. Her plan was insane, impossible, beautiful. They think we will fight fair, she said. We will not. The battle began at 0600 hours. The Vectari expected the humans to approach slowly and carefully. Every other species did. War in the galaxy followed rules. You announced yourself. You demanded surrender. You gave the enemy time to prepare. The humans did none of these things. 500 ships appeared from nowhere and attacked at full speed. No announcements. No demands. Just death. Warlord Kreth barely had time to react before the first wave hit his flank. Human ships moved faster than anything he had ever seen. They did not fight in formation. Each ship acted independently, choosing targets, changing direction, attacking and retreating in chaotic patterns. What are they doing? Kreth screamed. This is not how war works. But the humans did not care how war worked. They cared about winning. Lieutenant Bennett led a squadron of fast attack ships through the enemy formation. Her pilots followed her through maneuvers that should have been impossible. They twisted and turned, dodging enemy fire while delivering their own with deadly accuracy. A Vectari commander contacted her on an open channel. Human, you fly like a mad creature. This is not honorable warfare. Bennett destroyed his ship before responding. We are not here for honor. We are here for new providence. The humans unveiled weapons the galaxy had never seen. Missiles that split into 100 smaller missiles. Lasers that burned through any shield. Bombs that created temporary black holes, swallowing entire enemy squadrons. Warlord Kreth watched his fleet die. 100 ships gone in the first hour. 200 in the second. His advantages meant nothing. His superior numbers meant nothing. The humans were not fighting a battle. They were conducting an execution. Fall back. He ordered. Fall back to the secondary position. But the humans did not let them fall back. They pressed their attack, hunting down every ship that tried to retreat. No mercy. No prisoners. Captain Michael Kim flew his fighter through the chaos. He had never been in real combat before. Now he understood why the older pilots talked about it in whispers. It was terrifying. It was exhilarating. It was nothing like he expected. He targeted a Vectari transport trying to escape. His weapons locked on. His finger hovered over the trigger. Then he hesitated. The transport was not a warship. It might be carrying civilians, families, children. His wingman spoke on the radio. Captain, what is wrong? Take the shot. Michael thought of his sister. The Vectari had not hesitated when they killed civilians. They had not hesitated when they murdered children. Why should he show them mercy? Because that was what made him human. That was what separated him from them. Scan the transport, he ordered. Check for life signs. The scan came back. Military personnel only. No civilians. Michael took the shot. Warlord Kreth's flagship was surrounded. Fires burned on every deck. Half his crew was dead. He stood on his bridge and watched the human ships close in. Impossible, he whispered. We are the Vectari. We are conquerors. We do not lose. Admiral Park's voice came through the communication system. Warlord Kreth, this is Admiral David Park of the United Earth Fleet. Your fleet is destroyed. Your escape routes are blocked. Surrender now, and your crew will be treated fairly. Kreth laughed. It was a broken, desperate sound. Surrender? To humans? I would rather die. That can be arranged, Park replied. The final barrage hit Kreth's flagship from every direction. The ship came apart in a ball of fire. Warlord Kreth, conqueror of worlds, died screaming. The battle ended 4 hours after it began. 3,000 Vectari warships were destroyed. Not one human ship was lost. Across the galaxy, other species watched in shock. They had thought they knew what humans were capable of. They were wrong. Admiral Park looked at the field of debris that used to be the largest Victari fleet. He felt nothing. No joy. No satisfaction. Only a cold emptiness where his grief used to be. "Admiral," Lieutenant Bennett said quietly, "it is done. What are your orders?" Park turned to face her. "We move forward. This was only the first battle. The war has just begun. Sir, if I may ask, what do we do when we reach the Victari homeworld? They have billions of civilians." Park was silent for a long moment. This was the question that haunted him. This was the choice that would define humanity forever. "We are not them," he finally said. "We will never be them. We fight their military. We destroy their ability to wage war. But we do not murder innocents. We do not become the monsters they are." Bennett nodded slowly. "Some of the crew want revenge. They want to burn the Victari worlds like they burned New Providence. I know. I want that too. Every day I want that." Park's voice was heavy with pain. "But if we do that, the 2.3 million people who died will have died for nothing. They were peaceful people. Kind people. If we become killers in their name, we dishonor their memory." He looked out at the stars. "We will have justice. We will have security. But we will not lose our souls. That is the line we do not cross, ever." A message arrived from the Victari Emperor. It was short. "We underestimated you. This will not happen again. We are sending our main fleet. 10,000 ships. You cannot win." Park read the message. He thought of his grandchildren. He thought of Dr. Emily Kim's final words. He sent a reply. "New Providence had 2.3 million souls. You will answer for every single one. Send your fleet. Send all your fleets. It will not matter. We are coming. And we do not forgive." He turned to his crew. "Set course for the Victari core systems. It is time to end this." 500 ships turned toward enemy space. Behind them, more human fleets followed. The gentle giants were no longer gentle, and the galaxy would never be the same. 6 months had passed since the war began. 6 months of blood and fire and death. Human fleets had pushed deep into Victari territory, winning battle after battle. The galaxy watched in silent amazement as the species they once called gentle tore through the greatest military power in known space. Admiral Park stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking down at the conquered Victari colony below. His officers waited for his orders. The city held 2 million Victari civilians, families, children, the same number that died on New Providence. "Admiral," his weapons officer spoke carefully, "the planetary bombardment systems are ready. One command and this city burns. Just like they burned ours." Park said nothing. His hand rested on the command console. "Boss?" One button. One decision. Justice or mercy. Revenge or restraint. He thought of his grandchildren. Their laughing faces. Their small hands. He thought of the morning they died, not knowing that death was coming from the sky. "Admiral?" the officer asked again. Park closed his eyes. When he opened them, his voice was steady. "Stand down weapons. This is a civilian population. We do not kill civilians." "Sir, they killed our civilians. They deserve justice," Park interrupted. "The military leaders who ordered the attack deserve death. The soldiers who carried it out deserve punishment. But these people?" He gestured at the city below. "They are farmers and teachers and children. They did not order the massacre. They did not pull the triggers." The officer looked unhappy but nodded. "Yes, Admiral. Around the fleet, similar scenes played out on a dozen worlds. Human forces captured cities but did not destroy them. They removed military targets but protected civilians. They showed mercy that they had never been shown. The galaxy noticed. "I do not understand the humans," a Confederation ambassador said in council chambers. "They have every right to seek revenge. Their enemy murdered millions of their people, but they spare civilian populations. They treat prisoners fairly. Why?" Representative Grace Lee answered him. "Because we are not fighting to destroy the Vectari. We are fighting to stop them from ever hurting anyone again. Revenge would feel good for a moment, but then we would have to live with what we became. We choose to live with our souls intact." The war changed as human forces moved deeper into Vectari space. They discovered something that shocked them. The Vectari Dominion was built on slavery. A dozen species served as workers and soldiers, forced into service generations ago. When human forces liberated the first slave world, they did not know what to expect. The slaves had been told that humans were monsters who would eat them alive. Instead, they found soldiers who offered food and medical care. Soldiers who broke their chains and asked nothing in return. Word spread quickly. The Vectari slaves began to resist, then to rebel, then to fight alongside the humans. Captain Michael Kim led the assault on a Vectari military base. Beside him fought warriors from 3 formerly enslaved species. They moved together, trusted each other, bled together. "Why do you help us?" one of the freed warriors asked him during a rest period. "We are not your people. We were your enemies until recently." Michael thought carefully before answering. "You were never our enemies. You were victims, just like our people on New Providence. The Vectari are our enemy. Everyone they hurt is our ally." The warrior studied him with strange eyes. "Your species is confusing. You fight with terrible skill, but show strange kindness. You destroy fleets, but save civilians. I do not understand you." Michael smiled sadly. "Sometimes we do not understand ourselves, but we try to be better than what we fight. It is hard. It is not always possible, but we try." In the Vectari capital, Emperor Vectus IX watched his empire crumble. His fleets were destroyed. His colonies were falling. His slaves were turning against him. Everything he built was being torn apart by creatures he had dismissed as weak. How? He demanded of his generals. How did this happen? They were supposed to be peaceful. They were supposed to surrender. His senior general, the only one brave enough to speak truth, answered quietly. "We made a mistake, Majesty. We saw their kindness and thought it was weakness. But kindness is a choice. They chose to be peaceful. We forced them to choose differently. What do we do now? We have one option remaining. The main battle fleet. 20,000 ships. Everything we have left." The Emperor nodded slowly. "Send them all. Every ship. Every soldier. This ends now." The final battle took place above the Vectari homeworld. 20,000 Vectari warships against 15,000 human vessels. The largest space battle in galactic history. Admiral Park knew this was the end. One way or another, this battle would decide everything. "All ships," he broadcast to the fleet. "This is Admiral Park. Behind that fleet lies the people who ordered the death of New Providence. The leaders who watched children burn and called it victory. Today, we end their ability to hurt anyone ever again." He paused. His voice grew softer. "But remember who we are. Remember what we fight for. We fight for the innocent, not against them. When this battle is over, when the military is destroyed, we show mercy to those who deserve it. We do not become the monsters we fight. That is our promise to the dead. That is our promise to ourselves." The battle lasted 2 days. It was brutal and bloody and terrible. Ships exploded. People died. The darkness between stars filled with fire and screaming and death. But slowly, inevitably, the human fleet won. Better tactics, better weapons, better training, and something else. Something the Victari never understood. The humans fought for something beyond themselves. They fought for the dead who could no longer speak. They fought for the future that the enemy would never threaten. They fought with the desperate strength of people protecting something precious. When it was over, the Victari fleet was destroyed. The Emperor's palace was surrounded. There was nowhere left to run. Ambassador Grace Lee arrived on a diplomatic shuttle. She walked through the ruined halls of the palace and found Emperor Vectus IX sitting on his throne, waiting for death. "You have won," the Emperor said bitterly. "Finish it. Burn our world as we burned yours." Grace Lee stood before him, this ancient monster who had ordered the death of millions. "No," she said simply. The Emperor looked confused. "No, but we destroy your colony. We murdered your people. You have every right. We have every right to justice," Grace Lee interrupted. "Not revenge, justice. You will stand trial for your crimes. Your military leaders will face judgment. Those who gave the orders and those who carried them out will answer for what they did. And my people? My civilians? Will be protected. Will be helped to rebuild. Will be given the chance to become something better than what you made them." The Emperor stared at her for a long time. "I do not understand your species. We tried to destroy you, and you respond with mercy." "We respond with justice," Grace Lee corrected. "Mercy is for those who deserve it. You will receive exactly what you earned. Nothing more. Nothing less." She signaled to the guards. "Take him. The tribunal will decide his fate." As the Emperor was led away, he asked one final question. "Why? Why not simply kill us all and be done with it?" Grace Lee considered her answer carefully. "Because we have to live with ourselves after this war ends. Because our children have to grow up knowing what their parents did. Because in 1,000 years, when people tell the story of this war, we want them to say that humans were strong enough to win and wise enough to show mercy." She watched him disappear into the guardship. "We want them to say that we were human, even when it was hard. Especially when it was hard. The war was over. But the hardest part was just beginning. The part where humanity had to prove that they meant what they said. The part where they had to be better than their grief demanded." Admiral Park visited the memorial site on New Providence. The planet was still dead, but they had built a monument there. 2.3 million names carved in crystal, glowing softly in the starlight. He found his daughter's name, his grandchildren's names. He touched the crystal gently. "We won," he whispered. "We stopped them. We made sure they can never hurt anyone again." He paused. His voice broke. "And we kept our souls. We did not become them. I hope that is enough. I hope you can forgive me for taking so long. I hope you are proud of what we chose to be." The stars twinkled silently above. The names glowed in the darkness. And Admiral Park finally allowed himself to cry. 1 year had passed since the war ended. The galaxy was still trying to understand what had happened. The Victari Dominion, the most feared military power in known space, had been completely defeated by a species that everyone thought was peaceful. President Thomas Young stood before the Galactic Council. Every species in the Confederation had sent representatives. Some came out of respect. Some came out of fear. All came because they knew that everything was about to change. 1 year ago, the president began. The Victari murdered 2.3 million of our people. They burned our colony to ash because they thought we were weak. They thought our kindness meant we could not fight. He paused. The chamber was completely silent. They were wrong. We showed them exactly what humanity is capable of. We destroyed their fleets. We conquered their worlds. We brought their leaders to justice. Representatives from 100 species listened carefully. Many of them were afraid. If humans could destroy the Victari, they could destroy anyone. But today, I am not here to threaten you, President Young continued. I am here to explain what we learned from this war, and what we will do to make sure it never happens again. He activated a display showing the new Providence Memorial. We did not fight for conquest. We did not fight for territory or wealth or power. We fought because innocent people were murdered, and no one else would stop the murderers. We fought because someone had to. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of ambassadors and leaders. We have no interest in ruling the galaxy. We have no interest in threatening peaceful species. We will return to being the gentle giants you always knew. But we will never again pretend that kindness alone can protect the innocent. Representative Grace Lee stepped forward to announce Earth's new policy. This is the new Providence Doctrine, she said. From this day forward, humanity will protect the innocent, wherever they are. Any species that commits genocide will face our full response. We will not negotiate. We will not compromise. We will not show mercy to those who murder children. She paused to let her words sink in. But we will always protect civilians. We will always offer surrender to those who choose peace. We will always show mercy to those who deserve it. This is who we are. This is who we choose to be. The council chamber erupted in murmurs and whispers. Some species were relieved. Others were worried. A few were angry. The new Victari representative stood. His species had been humbled, but not destroyed. Their military leaders were in prison. Their slave empire was gone. They were starting over as a smaller, weaker nation. The humans could have destroyed us completely, he said slowly. They could have burned our worlds and killed our people as we killed theirs. They chose not to. He bowed his head slightly toward the human delegation. We do not understand this choice, but we are grateful for it. The Victari people accept responsibility for our crimes. We will work to become better than what we were. We owe the humans a debt we can never repay. It was the closest thing to an apology that the proud Victari had ever offered anyone. Across the galaxy, the war's effects continued to spread. The species that had been enslaved by the Victari were now free. Many of them chose to ally with humanity. They remembered who broke their chains. Captain Michael Kim returned to Earth as a hero. He did not feel like one. He had done terrible things during the war. Killed enemy soldiers. Watched friends die. He would carry those memories forever. His mother met him at the spaceport. She was smaller than he remembered. Older. The war had aged everyone. Your sister would be proud of you, she said, holding him tightly. I do not feel proud, Michael admitted. I feel tired. I feel sad. I feel angry that any of this had to happen. That is normal, his mother said gently. Good people always feel that way after war. It is the ones who enjoy it that we should worry about. She touched his face. You fought for Emily. You fought for her daughter. You fought for everyone who cannot fight for themselves. That is something to be proud of, even if it hurts. Admiral Park retired from the military. He had given everything to the war. His family was gone. His purpose was fulfilled. He needed time to heal, if healing was even possible. He built a small house near the ocean and spent his days watching the waves. Sometimes young officers came to visit him, asking for advice. He always told them the same thing. War is necessary sometimes. When someone threatens the innocent, we must stop them. But never forget the cost. Never enjoy the killing. And always remember that peace is what we fight for, not war. One day, a young girl came to visit him. She was the daughter of one of his officers, curious about the famous admiral. Why did we stop being civilized? She asked. It was the question that everyone asked eventually. Park looked at her for a long moment. She was about the same age his granddaughter had been. "We did not stop being civilized," he said finally. "We reminded the galaxy what civilization is worth." The girl looked confused. "I do not understand." Park smiled sadly. "When the Victari attacked New Providence, they thought being civilized meant being weak. They thought kindness meant we could not fight. They were wrong." He gestured at the peaceful ocean before them. "Civilization is not about being unable to fight. It is about choosing not to fight when there is a better way. It is about protecting the innocent, even when you have the power to hurt them. It is about showing mercy when mercy is possible." He looked at the girl directly. "We stopped being gentle because gentle was not working. But we never stopped being civilized. Even in our darkest moments, we remembered who we wanted to be. We killed soldiers but protected civilians. We destroyed the enemy military but did not commit genocide." He paused. "That is what civilization really means. Not weakness, not avoiding all violence, but choosing to be better than your enemies, even when they make it very hard to do so." The girl thought about this for a long time. Were you ever tempted to be like them? To burn their worlds like they burned ours? "Every day," Park admitted. "Every single day. When I thought about my grandchildren, I wanted to make them pay. I wanted to hurt them like they hurt me. But you did not. No, because that would have meant they won. They wanted to turn us into monsters like them. If we became monsters, they would have succeeded even in defeat. The best revenge was showing them that they could not destroy who we were." Years passed. The galaxy slowly healed. The Victari rebuilt their society without slavery and without conquest. The freed species built their own nations. Humanity returned to being peaceful, but everyone knew that the peace was backed by terrible strength. The New Providence Memorial became a place of pilgrimage. Humans from across the galaxy came to see the names of those who died, to remember what was lost, to promise that it would never happen again. Grace Lee visited the memorial on the 10th anniversary of the massacre. She was older now, her hair gray, her steps slower, but her eyes still burned with the same fire. "We kept our promise," she said to the crystal names. "We protected the innocent. We showed mercy to those who deserved it. We stayed human." She touched the crystal gently. "The galaxy is safer now because of you. Because we refused to let your deaths be meaningless. Because we turned our grief into something better than revenge." She stepped back and looked at the stars above. "Rest peacefully. Your children are safe. Your legacy lives on. And somewhere out there, the next generation is growing up in a galaxy where they know that there are people who will protect them. No matter what." The stars twinkled silently. The names glowed in the darkness. And the universe remembered what happened when gentle creatures were forced to stop being gentle. They had not stopped being civilized. They had reminded the galaxy what civilization was worth fighting for.